Hello, welcome to Little Scented World. This video is my August 2020 reading wrap up. I'm going to try and lift the books up. Ready? I've got quite a lot of books to share with you. Now, this isn't all the books that I've read the month, but I think I've read 30 books this month, which is quite a lot. But you'll see some of these are really, really easy, kind of fast reads. So, as I've got so many to share with you, let's get straight into it. Now, you might be thinking, this isn't 30 books here. No. As usual, any books that I have read, I might have done individual reviews for. They might be like grouped in reviews. I don't know what this is, but like Persephone book reviews, classic crime book reviews, etc, etc. So let's get straight into it. First book I have to share with you is Giant Days. This is volume 13. We are sadly coming to the end of Giant Days, and here we are at the end, well, end-ish of year 3, so it's dissertation year and all that type of thing. It's really difficult when you're on volume 13 to talk about this because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is a funny series of wonderful friendships and relationships. It's about 3 girls and their time at university, Daisy, Esther and Susan, and also Ed Gilmore and McGraw, and it's just an amazing series. 5 stars as always. I haven't given any one of the books in the main series less than 5 stars. Okay, next up we have a classic. This is Lady Chastity's Lover by D.H. Lawrence in a beautiful edition. This is one of the Word Cloud Classics, or Canterbury Classics, I think. And I think they're stunning. It's kind of like embossed sort of thing, but in. And yeah, they're really, really pretty. And these books are great because they're wipey clean if you get anything on it, but they have the integrity of hardback, so they're sewn in rather than glued in like a paperback, but they have like the availability to flop like a paperback sort of thing, if that makes sense. Anyway, they're wonderful. So this book, Lady Chastity's Lover by D.H. Lawrence, it was quite a scandalous book in its day. It really was. And I had wanted to read it for a little while. I tried before but never got on with it, and I tried again recently and I actually quite liked it. So it's about a woman, funny enough, called Lady Chatterley, who is married, and she's married to a man who is now confined to a wheelchair thanks to war. And he has an idea, because he cannot produce an heir, but she still could, that she could take a lover and produce an heir that way. And she takes a lover. I don't want to say too much about it because I'll spoil it for you, but all I can say is, oh wow, I can see why this book was banned. It is quite a raunchy book, so it's one of those books where you don't want to read with your parents, kids. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars because when I started reading it, the first 100 pages or so, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like 4 or 5 star, really good. But it kind of lost a little way for me at the end. I don't know whether it's just me and I need to perhaps try again with it, but yeah, I did really enjoy it and I'll definitely give it a reread in the future. Time for a tea break, just chat amongst yourselves. Oh, that's better. Okay, back to it. I then picked up the first book in the Grantchester Mystery series. This is Chimney Chamber and the Shadow of Death by James Runcie. I've watched the show, I enjoyed the show, wanted to read the book, read the book, didn't really enjoy the book. I mean, it was okay. It's not what I was expecting. Instead of one big mystery, it's kind of like mystery short stories in a way. So in this one we had 6 and they're a real mixed bag. Some are a lot stronger than the others. Like I quite enjoyed the first one, but then the second one I was a bit like and the third one I was a bit like so a bit of a mixed bag, let's be honest. It does have like a continuing storyline throughout for the main characters, so like Sydney and Leonard, etc. And I don't think I'm going to carry on with the series. I mean, I do have another book, which is the 3rd one, which I will read, but I don't think I'll be picking up any more. I gave it 2 stars because I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it was amazing, and there's so many books out there that I want to read, so I'm just going to put this aside. I might come back to it in years to come, but I have to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. Back to a classic, and I have this beautiful book. This is The Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, which I think a lot of people have been reading recently. This copy, if you're wondering, is part of the Virago Modern Classics, but this is the 40th anniversary edition, and I don't know if you can see if it's catching the light, but it's beautiful kind of gold foiling. Love a bit of gold foiling. Anyway, so this book is about a woman who's kind of like looking back on her life and her relationships, and going to be honest, didn't love it. Really wanted to love it because I know a lot of people do. I think I want to read this book again, but in audiobook form. Reason being, this book, the dialogue is in the dialect, so how you're meant to kind of say it, which does my head in books. I never enjoy books that are like in the dialect. It really annoys me. Like Cold Comfort Farm. I know a lot of people adore that book, but it's in that like dialect, isn't it? And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't push past it. It just kind of gets on my nerves a bit. So it really changes my reading experience. And so I gave this the same rating I gave Cold Comfort Farm, which is 2 stars. But I know so many people love it, so I do want to try again with it in the future. But audiobook it next time. Audiobooks. Time for another classic now. This is My Turn to Make the Tea by Monica Dickens. As you can see, it's a very old vintage copy. I think I must have picked this up either at a charity shop or something like that. It's beautiful. I recently read Mariana by Monica Dickens, which is a Persephone classic, one of these up here, and I loved it. I gave it like 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I was like, I really want to read more of Monica Dickens in the future, so I thought I'd pick this up because it was already on my shelves. Now this is quite kind of semi-autobiographical-ish. So this is about working in like journalism, which is what Monica Dickens did for a time. But it was a bit weird because I don't know if this perhaps was like written for newspapers itself or something at one point, but it feels like every story is the finishing point because it kind of finishes every story and nothing really happens to connect them together, if that makes sense. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't great. I gave this 2 stars, and if you want a Monica Dickens, yeah, pick up Mariana. Then for something light, I picked up this. This is The Big Beastly Book of Bart Simpson. I do love The Simpsons, and I've actually been really enjoying reading the comic book versions of The Simpsons. One of my closest friends, hello if you're watching, you know who you are, bought me this for my birthday, and he also loves The Simpsons too, and we liked watching it together. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun reading this. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, they're really good and fun, and if you enjoy The Simpsons, I would say to read them. I've had mixed feelings about them before in the past, but actually I really enjoy them now. I think you've just got to be in the right mood. Okay, then a bedtime book. Does anybody else have a bedtime book? Sometimes I never want to read in bed, and sometimes all I want to do is read in bed. But I thought I'd pick up a little easy read, and I picked up this. This is Emily Davison, The Girl Who Gave Her Life for the Cause, by Claudia Fitzherbert. And this is a super easy kids book talking about the life of Emily Davison. This was alright. I always find it really interesting when you talk about biographies but in children's format, because of course the evidence isn't there, and I would like some supporting evidence, even if it's just at the back. I think that would be more interesting, but it's not there, so it's a bit like, where are you getting this evidence from? So it was okay. I think I gave it a 2. It was alright. But if you've got little ones in your life, then yes, go and pick that up. Next is another classic, and I really don't want to offend anybody, but I read Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, which, gulp. Okay, are we ready? So Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, if you don't know, is set in one day and is about this woman who is going to hold this kind of party thing, and it's about her kind of getting on with her day, and that's pretty much what happens. But it's difficult because it is beautiful, but I didn't get it. I don't think I'm clever enough to get it. I couldn't read this in one sitting. There is no chapters to this, so it was difficult to know when to sort of stop, although there was kind of these bits where I was stopping. Sometimes they were quite few and far between, and as I said, I just don't think I was clever enough to get it. I think I needed to take a lot longer with this and to get out some highlighters and annotate some beautiful passages, rather than try to read it like I would read a normal story, if that makes sense. So difficult. I have some other Virginia Woolf that I really want to read and to get to, but if anybody could let me know what to do about Virginia Woolf, I really, really want to read A Room of One's Own. Can I just go straight into that, because this was tricky. I gave it 2 because I thought it was okay, but maybe I'm just not clever enough to get it. But I thought it was all right. Then a book that I did really enjoy. This is Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. This is kind of like a mystery, really. So this is about a woman called, funny enough, Lady Audley, who has a secret. But it's not really. It's about a young man who marries a woman and they have a child together, and he's poor, and so he's like, right, I'm going, and he just goes, and he goes off to Australia, and he's like, I'm not coming home until I've made my fortune. And so he's gone years, and he literally just up stocks and went. He didn't say goodbye or anything like that to friends, family, just off he goes. Write a letter, bye-bye now. And so years later, he comes back because he's made his fortune. And then he meets his friend that he went to school with, and then he finds out that actually his child is still alive, living with his father-in-law, but his wife is dead. But his kind of sadness is intertwined with his friend who's got this mystery to solve. And the mystery is Lady Audley's Secret. And it's wonderful. I really enjoyed this. The writing was fab. And it's kind of obvious what's happening at the beginning, but and you kind of play out through the book, but it was so brilliant. It was so good. I loved all the characters. They were all so well described, and I was imagining them in my head, and it was just really enjoyable. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 star. Plus, it's really, really pretty. And I don't know if there's any more books out there by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, but I'd be intrigued to read them if there were. I then read a couple of cute little children's books, starting with this one. This is the Georgian House picture book. I saw this online, I just thought it looked very cute and sweet, and it is. And it is a picture book that shows like rooms of a Georgian house, etc. And it's just lovely. It's really, really nice. And I think I'm going to display it like this because I just think it's beautiful. And if you are like me and you're interested in beautiful pieces of literature, then pick this up because it's stunning. And the other little non-fiction book that I picked up was this Pitkin Guide of the Edwardians, because I do enjoy a Pitkin Guide every now and then. And this one was just, yeah, it's really interesting. I'm very sad to say, don't read much about King Eddie. I should call him King Eddie, Bertie. Bertie wasn't the best, was he? But he was an interesting king, although he wasn't king for a long time. He was an interesting man, and I would like to learn more about him, so I think I might pick up a biography about him in the future. But yeah, this was fun. 3 stars for that. Then I picked up a Robert Galbraith. This is The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. This one is about a novelist called Erin Quain, who goes missing, and the wife of Owen comes to Strike, and she's like, sorry, can you help find my husband? And so eventually Strike agrees to it and finds the husband dead, but in a way that is kind of described in his books, sort of thing. And it's like, whoa, okay. I mean, it was okay. I adored The Cuckoo's Calling. I gave it 5 stars. This book, I think I gave it 2, sad to say. This book is 580 pages. Is it 580 pages? No, that's a little bit. 576 pages. And I'm going to be honest, I think we could have whittled this down to about 450. I think it needed a good editing. I don't think it all needed to be in there. So, yeah. I'm saying that, and Lethal White is like 700 and something pages, and the 5th book is even bigger, so I'm hoping that the other books are really good. But yeah, this one was okay, but nowhere near as good as Cuckoo's Calling. Then I read this wonderful book. This is The Tale of the Castle Mice by Michael Bond, who of course wrote Paddington Bear, and it is about these mice who live in a doll's house inside a castle. And I'll show you, this is their doll's house. And they live in a castle, and people come to view the castle, and they view the doll's house. Here they are. But their life changes when their doll's house is taken away. What are they going to do? It was beautiful. I loved it. 4.5 out of 5 star, and just amazing. I then read this stunning book. It's a month of stunning books, isn't it? This is Along Came Coco by Eva Bryan. Look at this book. And then if you take the dust jacket off, which I will do, this is the cover. Oh. Isn't that lovely? Stunning. So this is a little biography of Coco Chanel as she's young and growing up, and how she becomes essentially the icon that is Coco Chanel. And it's fascinating to learn about her in such a beautiful, beautiful way, and learning about the nuns, etc. I recently read a biography of Coco Chanel, but the images just made this reading experience. It's lovely, and it's definitely going to be displayed on my shelves like this because it's stunning. Last but not least, I have The Quotable Giant Days by John Allison and Max Sarin, of course. So as we're coming to the end of Giant Days, they brought out this little book. This is just picture and a quote, picture and a quote. Anything to do with Giant Days I pick up, regardless of what it is, to be honest, because I love this series so much. This was a read that I read very quickly. It's, you know, a half-hour job if you take your time over it. But there are some really lovely quotes in this and some beautiful artwork, and I want to share with you one which just is the epitome of me. If your freak flag is a picture of you going to bed at 9:30 and reading, go for it. Fly it high. I'm like, that's me. Well, actually, I'm usually in bed before 9:30, but shh, don't let anyone know. But yeah, I adored it. It was so much fun, and I just loved reading it, and just, to be honest, it just made me want to read the whole series again, because any excuse. And I'm done. Well done if you got to the end of that. Oh, hold on. Victory sip. So, chat to me in the comments, all things bookish. What have you been reading recently? What have you read in the month of August? Can you believe that August is over? I can't. The months are just flying by. It'll be Christmas before you know it. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. Chat to me in the comments, all things bookish, and I shall see you soon for the next video. Take care for now. Bye.